All right. So I saved this one as 4 artillery bombardment, mostly because, as you'll see, I mostly just let my guns do literally all of the work. So you'll notice that I am called the Tosa Imperial Vanguard. This is after the Realm Divide in the Shogun 2 campaign, in the Fall of the Samurai campaign, and I have chosen, obviously, to defend the Emperor and try to modernize Japan as much as possible, which means I got my guns, I got my rifles, and I've got, shitty spear levy in the back as basically bayonets in case they send their frickin' ninjas after me, which sometimes they do. Obviously, these guys do not have a great army. It's fairly small. They're completely outmatched, even if I didn't have my guns. But this one's pretty fun because it kind of shows the way that you can make the AI panic when you have artillery and they don't. Once you get your artillery engaged, as you'll see, I just start fucking chewing them up, and they really have no choice but to come at me. So they just more or less march right into it. I also, I believe, I have naval bombardment, which I use pretty well. So hopefully I'll be able to catch that. I didn't realize that on the recordings they actually got rid of like the UI panel on the bottom, so I can't really like see when I'm choosing to use the naval bombardment and everything, but they send like a little, you'll see like a little bit hit the ground and smoke, like a smoke ground to call the shots. And usually, sometimes you can actually see the little boats out here on the water, but I guess either it's too foggy or they just didn't render this time. Whatever. Head back to my lines. So you see my guns all deployed, ready to go. I'm waiting for them to get in range. They also have a Parrot gun. Yeah, just a single Parrot gun. Oh no, these are their stupid wood cannons. Again, they're dumbass, absolutely stupid wood cannons. And yeah, they've got a battery of Parrot guns. So I guess the Parrot guns are just universal. I don't think it actually has anything to do with whether or not you've chosen like an American trade sphere or not. I think it's just what you build when you have like an artillery school, which is what allows you to build those guns. You can build Parrot guns and Armstrong guns. And even where I am late in the campaign, I've got a few Armstrong guns, but I haven't made use of too many of them. Mostly because I built them in like one town that's really, really far away, and it takes fucking forever to get anybody anywhere. Anyway, let's kind of speed it up until we get into the action here, because ain't nothing happening. I more or less just wait for them to get in range, which they obligingly do. Oh, okay. So this is the signal. This is the smoke ground from the naval bombardment. So essentially, I'm trying to center the bombardment right around here. And it takes something like, it's like 11 seconds or something like that. You can actually hear in the distance the guns rumbling, right? And yeah, so here we go. My Parrot guns fire at around the same time as the naval bombardment starts. And I get 2 of these per battle as long as I have boats near enough the battle to actually support. So yeah, my Parrot guns, my Parrot battery over there is just fucking chewing up their horses. And I've got this horrific naval bombardment.
Your men have killed their general, sir!
That killed their general and fucking annihilated a good huge portion of their army. So sometimes what happens is, like, the enemy will see this little smoke pop and they'll try to actually clear the zone, but the bombardment itself is kind of so widespread that it's really hard to avoid entirely. So it's kind of hard to do. So their Parrots up here have opened up on, I believe they're firing at my cavalry. Yeah. So they cause a few casualties there, mostly because of just my inattention. And I believe I moved them after that. But anyway, so that's the first sort of terrific bombardment from the naval guns, and I've got my artillery zeroing in on their cavalry. Because again, if you whittle down their cavalry, they don't do anything. They're not clever enough to try to like combine the attack with the cavalry with their advance of the infantry. They usually just like send the cavalry forward, and as much as like it's not a problem overall, it's something that I'd really like to avoid. If you can avoid taking dumb casualties just because of like an enemy's suicide attack, basically, then just go for it. It does take me a little while, I think, to realize that their artillery is firing at my revolver cavalry. So I do not move them out of the way, even though I should, because, as you can see, cavalry make a very big, very easy target for artillery. They're easy to hit. So yeah, I somewhat, in a very silly move, I just sort of leave my my revolver cavalry just out there in the middle of the run. What I'm doing is actually, I'm turning on, again, the, I can't remember what the name of the shell is, the shrapnel shot onto a couple of the guns. And rather than firing, again, a solid round shot, it you know, detonates above and sends shrapnel down onto the enemy. And here comes my second naval bombardment. So again, kind of right in the middle of their advancing infantry. And just sort of waiting for them to advance up. I'm waiting for their revolver cavalry to get up, kind of high on the hill here too. And then I'm going to get my artillery to fire at it. Because again, I want to just whittle down their cavalry as much as possible. But here come the shells from the Navy. And here's some more artillery we can watch in slow-mo. Yep, shrapnel shot. Cut a big swath right through the middle of this group here. Here they come. And a lot of this is just mostly like, again, the AI is not being very smart. They're making this torturously slow advance, and I think it's because they're trying to keep pace with their Parrot guns. But more, I mean, they just give me like hours. They give me just so much time to sit there and zero in all their troops with my artillery. And I mean, like, were I in this position, I probably would, obviously, if I were in this position, they had naval superiority. So they have, you know, bombardment they can hit my guns with. If I have anything stationary, they can hit all the way across the entire map, no matter where you go. They've got 2 of those. And as you saw, like, I probably killed hundreds of men between both of those, easily. But they have artillery superiority. There's nothing you can do about that. You just have to advance into it. And I'm pretty sure they were outnumbered entirely. So mostly this is just a bad battle to take. I think this was a force that was moving up to besiege one of my cities, and I had like sallied out before they actually set the siege. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening, and they're advancing very slowly and cautiously because they're actually the defense side of the battle. So they really want me to advance forward, and they're trying to minimize the casualties that I'm dealing with my artillery, but you see that's obviously not happening very well. So what I'm doing now is actually I'm focusing on their sharpshooters. Their sharpshooters are the only guys that they have that can hit my infantry lines without me being able to return fire without moving my lines, like what's happening over here. So they're, again, just trying to make a bit of a mess here. And my rifles open up on their cavalry, but they can't hit the sharpshooters. They're not actually in range of the sharpshooters except for hitting them when they fire past the cavalry. So that's why my artillery is trying to soften them up on their right. And here they come. So yeah, the general engagement is about to start. And I mean, the battle's over before they even get in range, obviously. Like, between my bombardments from the naval guns and my Parrot battery, there's just nothing these guys can do. They lost probably a good, at least a third of their entire army in that advance, if not more like half. So it's pretty bad. You can see them all basically starting to rout almost immediately.
Victory is assured, sir!
There they go. And the rest is just mop up. Another thing I really like, holy shit, look at this smoke. Look at the way the smoke drifts. And like, if that had been a longer engagement, right, you'd have more and more of these guys firing. And more of this smoke building up everywhere. The only thing is, right, there's no smoke with the artillery. None whatsoever. It's like they're using, you know, they've invented the smokeless powder already. They're just using it for the artillery. But yeah, I silenced those. They're not firing anymore. But I love the lingering smoke pall. And, you know, the more this goes on, the bigger the battle, the foggier and everything it all gets, which is really, really cool. But yeah, that's about it. The rest is just mop up, just sending my cavalry out to kill as many of them as possible. So yeah, there we go.